to another episode of All Things Aussie Footy, where we recap everything from the AFL to the AFLW and have a look at everything in between it. My name is Ashley, and today we will be recapping round 3 of the 2022 Toyota AFL Premiership season, as well as looking at the AFL ladder and where all teams stand, as well as the AFLW preliminary finals, where 2 teams have now booked their spot into next week's AFLW Grand Final. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button down below, turn on the bell icon, leave a like and comment, let me know what you guys think about these videos, and I'll take some of those considerations into future videos for your enjoyment. So, Thursday's games, obviously if you guys didn't watch the last video, Thursday started off with the Western Bulldogs and the Sydney Swans at Marvel Stadium. Cracking game, couldn't wait for it, ended a lot closer than what I expected. I unfortunately got this tip wrong and I went with Sydney. They ended up going down to the Bulldogs. Inaccuracy for the Bulldogs obviously did not prove a factor in this game at all. Bulldogs running away with a 9-17-71 victory to Sydney's 9-6-60. Sydney a lot more accurate in that one, but ultimately couldn't get the ball into their 50, couldn't convert. Buddy Franklin had a very quiet game again. Quiet game up until half time. He finished with 19 disposals, but ultimately it wasn't enough for the Swans to get over the line. The Bulldogs' inaccuracy unfortunately was a little bit off, couldn't set it up straight. Hopefully they bounce back for round 4 and actually be able to convert a lot of these behinds. They should have won by a lot more, but couldn't unfortunately, which is sad to see. But it's just good for them. Got their first win on the board, gets them off the bottom of the ladder. They go to 1 and 2. That's a good start. But can they keep it up? We'll find out next week. Friday night we had the crossover game with Melbourne and Essendon, Adelaide and Port Adelaide in the showdown, 51. But first game starting off with was Melbourne and Essendon at the G. My tip for that one was obviously Melbourne. Way too strong in my eyes. They would have been for Essendon. Didn't prove it here. Essendon held on to it for a lot of the game, but unfortunately they couldn't hold on long enough. Melbourne ran away with it in the last quarter. They ended up coming away with a 14-15-99 win over Essendon's 10-10-70. Melbourne proving too strong with the run and carry, with Clayton Oliver, Max Gawn and Christian Petrarca all in the midfield, absolutely just dominating the game. Essendon, they had a few big touches in there, a few great goals kicked on that night. Ultimately couldn't convert most of them, and they ended up going on losing the game. So they sink to the bottom of the ladder with an 0-3 start. Not the way you want to go after making finals last year. But as that game was going on, Adelaide took on Port Adelaide. Showdown 51. Lived up to its name. An absolute ripper of a game. I couldn't have asked for a better game. Kick after the siren for the Crows to hold on and win over Port. Fortunately, I got that tip wrong as well. Myself, I tipped Port thinking they could get off the bottom. They couldn't. Adelaide running away with a 15-6-96 to Port Adelaide's 13-14-92. 4-point win. Best game I've seen in ages in the AFL. I want to see more like this throughout the season, or as the season progresses, and when we get deeper into the season, pushing into finals. A lot of that reminded me a lot of the Melbourne-Geelong game last year, where Max Gawn kicked the goal after the siren to cement Melbourne as the minor premiers. That game was phenomenal. This game to me was even better. Adelaide, Port Adelaide. Adelaide getting a much needed win, and they've done it without Taylor Walker, who obviously they don't need to win games. So congratulations to Adelaide getting that win there against Port. Port looked home and hosed, but they ended up dying off unfortunately, so back to the drawing board, ready for next week's game. Saturday we kicked off with a massive game between the GWS Giants and the Gold Coast Suns at Giants Stadium. I was expecting a big game, high scoring, didn't prove that way. Started off very slow, very low scoring. Eventually the Giants started getting away further and further. Gold Coast slowly came back but wasn't enough for it, with the Giants running away a 12-11-83 to 8-9-57 victory. Gold Coast have a lot of improvements there. They're on the right track, they just need to convert those into wins. They're leading, they need to slow it down, they need to play the ball a lot more, they need to find their open teammates. If they can't do that, how are they going to win games? Obviously they need to kick a bigger score, not just 57 points, but stranger things have happened. I can't wait to see what happens with Gold Coast as the season goes on. The next game, big game at the G, Collingwood and Geelong. This was a game that I considered Geelong to be favourites in, but also a very tough game for them in terms of this season. First big challenge against an emerging Collingwood outfit who are looking at trying to get back to finals footy. But Geelong proving too strong, like I've stated. They end up taking the win 16-8, 104 to 13-13, 91. Geelong proving too strong there. Like I said, in the forward line with Tommy Hawkins, they have Joel Selwood, Patrick Dangerfield. Proving too strong in that forward line there. But it was still a great game to watch. I'm not going to lie, I enjoyed it. I can't wait to see what the season brings for both football clubs later this year. The next game that was played at the Gabba was the Brisbane Lions North Melbourne. I don't know if I need to report on this one, we all know what happened. Brisbane came away slaughtering. Absolutely killed North Melbourne. 108 points was the final margin. Now, I tipped Brisbane, but I did not expect it to be 108 points. Brisbane running away with a 23-18, 156. Yeah, you heard me right, 156 to North Melbourne 7-6-48. That's something I see in amateurs football, not the AFL. North Melbourne obviously didn't use their draft picks wisely, haven't done what they needed to do, haven't worked on what they needed to work on training from last week. But only way there is up for North Melbourne. Hopefully they can kind of pick up where they started and get a few wins on the board, try and avoid bottom of the ladder. So it'll be interesting to see where that sits. Brisbane were also missing Mitch Robinson that game through suspension, but clearly they don't need him. With the likes of Charlie Cameron in there, and they got Daniel Rich working on the back line. They've got Joe Danaher kicking goals down forward. Brilliant all-round performance by Brisbane, absolutely dominating in that. North Melbourne's defence just didn't hold up at all. Aaron Hall was the number one ranked defender heading into this year. He obviously didn't do a lot. So hopefully they can kind of look back on this game throughout the week and go, okay, well this is where we went wrong. This is what we need to work on. Let's focus on this area of the game. Clearly here was a lot of their defence end. So hopefully they kind of shift their focus to their defence and go from there. Carlton Hawthorn. Sunday football, first game of the day. Like I said, I want to see this live up to expectation. And it did. Carlton coming away with an 11-8-74 to 11-7-73 win. 1 point final margin. Carlton hanging on, very up and down. One stage I thought Hawthorn had it, but they go on and stay undefeated in the season, starting 3-0. This is a big year for Carlton. Are they going to break through and go deep into September, potentially even looking at maybe a grand final appearance? We don't know, but they're looking good this year. So as I said in the other videos, watch out for them. They're coming. Big match on the same day. St Kilda Richmond, like I said, Matty's match. Unfortunately, Jack Revolt was out. Nick Revolt was there though. He was boundary side commentator. Great to see him still going through with the AFL. Still a special special analysis for them, and having a lot to do with the St Kilda Football Club. Ultimately, St Kilda ran away with a much needed win versus Richmond. 18-9, 117 to Richmond's 13-6, 84. Max King, brilliant display. 4 goals on the day. couldn't fault. It was absolutely fantastic. Defense held up well, but I'll give big credits to Matthew Parker and Shai Bolton from Richmond standing up quite well, considering I'd say Shai Bolton could be the next Dusty Martin. The way he fends off his defenders, the way he run and carry the ball was phenomenal. Matty Parker in front of the big sticks, he'll be getting more games this year. Watch out for him. And then the last game to recap, round 3, was obviously the big game. West Coast Fremantle Optus Stadium, Derby 54. Didn't live up to the hype though. Unlike the Port Adelaide game, it did not live up to the hype. Fremantle ultimately coming away with a massive victory, 15-12, 102 to West Coast's 7-5, 47. Game was over basically by half time. Unfortunately, there was one injury where they required the stretcher, and that was Fremantle's big man Darcy Tucker. He went off by stretcher after copping a rough tackle, I guess you could say. Tackled, his back of the head hit the ground. Fortunately, from what reports are saying, he ended up suffering a seizure during the game. So I hope he ends up coming back shortly. He is going to go through the 12 days of concussion protocols before he can come back and train with the club. And then it's up to them whether they want to bring him straight in, throw him through the waffle for a game, see how he goes, or what the go is there. But hopefully we see him back out there. Big asset to Fremantle. And a lot of their stars coming back too, with Mundy being out of that game as well due to health and safety protocols after being considered a close contact to COVID. So a few big names to come in yet for Fremantle, but big win for them, much needed win. Not much I can say about it, but I can't wait for next week and see how both teams go. So moving on to the ladder. Obviously, big win for Brisbane has obviously put them on top of the ladder here. Melbourne as well up there, and so is Carlton, 3-0 to start the season. Great wins from all three clubs. How many of those can go undefeated? Right up to play each other, obviously. But how many rounds will they go undefeated? We're not too sure. Only time will tell. But Carlton are looking very strong this year. Carlton could prove to be like Melbourne last year. No one expecting them to make finals, go on and win the premiership. They could be that outside team this year that can go, oh, don't forget about us, we're going through finals. Hawthorn, Fremantle, Collingwood, Geelong and Sydney and St Kilda all 2-1 on the season. The Saints sitting 9th. But ultimately, they're knocking on the door for the 8th. That's a good sign for them. Strong things to come for them. Let's hope they can keep it up. They play the Hawks next week, so 4th versus 9th. Going to be a great game. Stay tuned for the recap that will be coming out in a couple of days. But there's a few tough games coming up for a lot of these teams, especially the ones that are knocking on the 8, or even the ones that are looking at potentially falling out of the 8, so anything from, I reckon, 5 below, so Fremantle, Collingwood, Geelong, Sydney. They've got a couple of tough games, I reckon, coming up, but that's going to be a real big test for them. The teams that still only won one game, Gold Coast, Richmond, Western Bulldogs. So glad they cracked through for their first win versus Sydney. Obviously Sydney quite high up, so just to show you anything is possible. So hopefully the Bulldogs with that win can kind of start finding momentum, building up in the season, get up the top there. Same with the Giants, same with the Crows. Hopefully they find that momentum and see them potentially pushing for finals come late in the season. North Melbourne also in there with the win, but being absolutely slaughtered by Melbourne just proved too big for it. And let's just hope we see them kind of switch off from that, ignore that game and focus into next week and all the other games going on in the year. Port, West Coast and Essendon all without a win, unfortunately. A few big games coming up for those clubs. All of those guys need at least a win this year. Their premiership window is not out yet. Or even their finals window, I should say, is not closed yet. But if they leave it too late, they're not going to make it. They need those teams need to win this week. But it's a tough ask for them. Big surprise in there for myself is obviously the three teams that are at the bottom: Port Adelaide, West Coast, Essendon, all without a win. Kind of saw it coming with the West Coast. Too many changes coming in. It was too hard to find a team. Obviously, Fremantle, West Coast got the extension into when they could announce their team. But other than that, the ladder looks pretty good. It's shaping up well. It looks to be a fantastic season, and I can't wait for that to come through. So let's hope that we see a few of those teams push for that final spot, and the bottom three at least get a couple of wins in the season to kind of start building their way up. Wouldn't consider any of them going through a rebuild. If anything, I reckon North Melbourne would be. But those three teams really need to kind of shift into another gear. The AFLW Finals series is almost at the end. We are a week away from the grand final. Preliminary finals are done. Melbourne and Brisbane, Adelaide and Fremantle, two teams locked into the finals. First game that we start off with is Melbourne running away against the Lions at the Gabba. Melbourne going away and winning 5-3-33 to the Lions 4-5-29. Very close encounter for the first game at the G. What more could you ask? Fans need to be a lot more. If there's any more matches at the G, I'm sure a lot more fans will probably, you'll see through the gates. Melbourne is proven too strong, so they've booked themselves a spot in the grand final for their first time ever in the AFLW, defeating the reigning premiers too, so we will have a new premier this year. The other game that's played, Adelaide Oval, Adelaide Fremantle. Like I said, Adelaide too strong there, running away with a 6-4-40 to a 4-2-26 win. Freo stayed in it right up until three-quarter time, and then after that they shut down. They didn't know what to think. Adelaide come through and went bang, see you later, we're going through to another grand final. Adelaide have now featured in every grand final except for the 2018 grand final, which was contested between the Bulldogs and the Lions. But they also didn't feature in the 2020 grand final due to the COVID pandemic, and that season ended up getting scrapped after the semis. So this will be Adelaide's fourth grand final in about 6 years, and are chasing their third premiership out of their 4 grand finals. So definitely the benchmark for the league. A lot of teams are going to be looking towards them for experience. You've got 3 new teams coming in next year. Going to be a big year. Potentially fixture changes. Be good to see. Hopefully we see at least every team face each other once. Make it a fair competition. And shape it up to be a fantastic year. They are looking at starting that in the middle of either the middle or the start of the men's final series. So I don't know how many people are going to tune into that, but it's a wait and see process at the moment. But other than that, guys, that is your round 3 recap, as well as the AFLW preliminary finals looked at and the ladder. A lot to cover in that, so I can't wait. Round 4 preview will be up sometime this week, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, put the bell notification on, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think about these videos, what I can improve on, what needs to go and get rid of. I'm always willing to listen to you guys. Follow us on Facebook and send me a message if you want to chat to me at all, or let me know what you guys think without actually putting it up on YouTube. It's up to you guys. But other than that, guys, stay tuned for the next video. Be released shortly. Enjoy your night. Can't wait for the next round to start.